It's been said one of the things that you should not ever talk about is race, politics, and religion.
My Lord.
Talk about
start
all
a fight.
three. We're going to talk about all
Talk
three.
about all three today.
Tonight.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, whenever you're listening to this.
What's up?
Welcome to the Truth
Yes.
Reveal podcast once again, where we are here to relate to you in order to reconcile so that we can reveal the truth.
Yes.
I am accompanied today by my wonderful co-host, Holly Harris, wave at the
What's
people,
up?
and
Howdy.
April Rivers.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. So we wanted to talk to you guys about things that are also not just spiritual, but things that are relevant, current issues, current topics. And so today we're going to be talking about a very sensitive topic. And so we want to go ahead and put disclaimers out there in the beginning that we are not endorsing any particular candidate in this podcast. What we are endeavoring to do is bring forth truth and factual information. So we do want to express that. And we're wanting to do that from a very unbiased stance and just presenting to you, here are the facts, here are some of the concerns. And as always, everyone is entitled to make their own decisions. There are times where we're going to agree or disagree, and I think that's awesome because that's community. We don't always agree. So we're talking about a very, very sensitive topic today. It's been said one of the things that you should not ever talk about is race, politics, and religion.
My Lord.
Talk about
start
all
a fight.
three. We're going to talk about all three.
All three today.
on today. My
On
God.
today, we cover race, politics, and religion, I suppose. And so, as many of you guys have already heard by now, on August the 11th, 2020, Kamala Harris was nominated to be the VP candidate for presidential running mate Joe Biden. And so this has caused a lot of talk. One, because of the significance of it, which we'll kind of delve into a little bit later in the podcast. And just that one, the significance of just race, obviously being a big part. She's definitely not the first female candidate, but she is the first African-American, first Asian-American candidate that has been presented to us. And, you know, this year has presented so many firsts for us. We first, have dealt with all the firsts that wonderful COVID has brought us. Kids are at home from school for the first day, at home in their rooms, and just so many things that we've endured as firsts. So it kind of seems like, hey, just add it to the pot of first for this year. So we just want to talk about that a little bit. I want to start out by just giving a little bit of background and a little bit of history for those of you guys who may not know anything about Kamala, not even heard her name until her own presidential nominee earlier, latter part of last year. So we just want to give you a little bit of information about her, and then we're going to kind of dive into some of the concerns that have arose just with this nominee. So we'll start off. Kamala Harris is the first African-American / first Asian-American and the third female vice presidential running mate on a major party ticket. She's running with Joe Biden on the Democratic Party ticket. Ms. Harris was born in Oakland, California, to an Indian mother and a British Jamaican father. And she has another sister who is also an attorney, so kind of runs in the family. Her mother was a biologist who did some progressive work in progesterone receptor gene stimulated work.
Oh.
Yes, very, very extensive.
What is that?
And this was right. No. But this work was used in breast cancer research. And so she came here from India back in 1959 as a graduate student to the University of California in Berkeley, and where she received her PhD in endocrinology in 1964, which also happens to be the year that Miss Kamala was born. So she comes from a lineage of geniuses because her father, very smart people, because her father, who, as I stated, was British Jamaican or Jamaican, he also was very well accomplished as it pertains to his own career. He was a Stanford University professor emeritus of economics. And then he arrived here from to the U.S. from British Jamaica in 1961 as a graduate student, also at Berkeley, where he received his PhD in economics in 1966. Wow. So the two doctorates, I guess, met up on the campus, and the rest is history. So I think it's important to kind of talk about that background that she's come from, just from education, obviously being something very important and stressed in his family, having both parents who held doctorates and who were very established in their own careers individually. Because when you look at Kamala's history and her career path, as we were doing research for this podcast, it's extensive. Like, we could spend an hour just talking about things that she's done in her career. So we have a mixed race child, Indian mother, Black father, pretty much predominantly grew up in California. They lived in an area in the western part of Berkeley that was considered the flatlands. That's what it was known for. But it generally housed a lot of predominantly Black families. So I thought this was interesting, and I've also heard her comment about this in different settings. When she was in kindergarten, she was bused out of her community, and it was an initiative that was started where they were busing children out of their communities, and they were sending them to the prestigious northern side of Berkeley to integrate the schools. So in doing the research, the school that she integrated into was initially 95% Caucasian. And I think by the time the segregation kind of took place, it had gotten down to be about 40% integrated. So I thought that was interesting because, you know, she's born in 64. So we're talking like, what, mid 70s if she's in kindergarten. So she's like, what, 5 or 6 starting out in kindergarten, and she's having to be bused to a school. So this is not very, very far removed. So when Kamala was 7, her parents got a divorce, visited the dad on the weekends. But when she turned 12, her mom moved her and her sister to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, because she received a teaching fellow there at McGill University. This is her mother. And so she spent, you know, those 12 to 18 formative years in Canada. She turned 18. She decided to move back to the States, where she went to Howard University and received a degree, I think, in economics and maybe poli-sci, and then further her career in California, where she received her doctorate and law degree. So that's kind of like a broad overview of like her life in a nutshell. So as we stated, Kamala has had a very extensive career. We're not going to go into all of the details of her career because, as stated, it's very, very full. But we do want to kind of highlight some of the things that she's kind of known for career-wise. So one of the things, she is the second African-American woman and the first South Asian American to serve a United States Senate. So that's a pretty big deal. She also ran, as I already stated, for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. She did, forego that nomination, but as we all know, she did end up on the ticket anyway as Biden's VP. And then she had a pretty extensive career in California as a district attorney. From her district attorney years, she became the state's attorney general. And that's where it gets a little interesting for a lot of people, because it was during that time that she had a very heavy prosecution rate, and just kind of segued into some concerns that individuals have had for her, was just that in 1998, I do want to say this because I think it's imperative that I mention this, because it kind of goes into the details about her prosecution. But in 98 in San Francisco, she was recruited as the assistant district attorney. And when she was there, she became the chief of the career criminal division. And she was supervising 5 attorneys under her. And these particular attorneys prosecuted homicide, burglaries, robbery, and sexual assault cases, and particularly the 3 strikes cases that were very prevalent in California, which has a pretty much 3 strikes and you're out type of ruling. So she's been very adamant about she does not support the death penalty, but it was during her time as the state's DA that, according to our source, she had 1,900 convictions for marijuana offenses, including persons who were already convicted for like marijuana and then more serious crimes. But I think it's also fair to state that even though she had a lot of convictions, that she, unlike her predecessor, did not send a lot of people to jail for marijuana. So, just trying to bring some balance to some of her career. But I do know that it's those convictions and those percentages that have caused a lot of people to really have mixed feelings as it pertains to her career. So you're talking about the felony conviction rate being 50% in 2009, going to 76%. Like, her conviction rate of drug dealers went from 56% to 74% in like 3 years. She was not playing.
My Lord.
She was putting the hammer down. And so for a lot of African Americans, they have taken fault with this, because some of these offenses are offenses that are primarily impacting Black men.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that whole concept of, you put us in jail, and along with other things. But these are some of the concerns that people have had when she even was in the nominations for the presidential race. These are some of the concerns that were being brought up. And so I think it's fair to not hold people to their past, but you definitely have to acknowledge it. And that's what we're doing. So we're not here to like say Kamala is horrible, but we are here to say, here are some things that have happened. Now, she's also done a slew of awesome things. If you look at her career and her history, there are so many things that she's done. There's so many good things that she's done. Just looking at her history as it pertains to one of the things in the early 2000s, I want to say this to just bring balance to the conversation. In the early 2000s, in the city of San Francisco, they had a very high murder rate per capita. And within 6 months of her taking office, she cleared 27 cases of a 74 case backlog of homicide cases. she attained an 81% success rate. So even though she's doing a lot of prosecution and, convictions, she's also getting things done. She's cleaning up backlogs. And so I think it's fair to say, whether we agree or disagree, there's good and bad to be discussed. So with that, just kind of giving you like a broad overview, and there are so many other things that she's done in her career, and I would advise that, as listeners, that you go and do your own research. This is like reading Rainbow. Don't take my word for it, but Rainbow, yes. So go do your own research, not just on Kamala, but do your research on all of the candidates so that we can be informed voters. But since we're talking about her, because of the significance of what this nomination means, I did feel like it was fair, and we did feel like it was fair to talk about some of the things that are controversial. Mm-hmm. So I do want to hear from Holly and April, because I know we all were kind of just doing our own research to kind of talk about this and discuss this topic as thoroughly as possible. What are you guys' concerns or your thoughts as it pertains to what a lot of people have concerns of, which is the conviction rates and that feeling as though she did not advocate for the people being the Black people?
Well, as a paralegal, I do kind of see, like, with the whole DA piece, that's how they're measured. They're measured by their conviction rate on how successful they are. And so I think, in order for her to show that she was successful in the job, she had to, increase that conviction rate, once she was, because I believe that was one of the things in her campaign that, she, shunned the other candidate for. So you can't become, the head of the office and then not produce. And so, mm-hmm. But I do see what a lot of people were, angry about as it relates to, because, on average, African Americans are the ones who are more likely to be arrested, more likely to be convicted. And so, you see more and more of our brothers and sisters going into the system. And I think another thing that they probably didn't like too good as well is the whole bail piece. She, sought to have higher bails when it came to gun-related crimes. So that's another thing. And she was credited with tightening the loopholes that many defendants were able to use in order to get out. And so it's that piece too. And, and then that whole, the felony gun violation. Now, in my job, that's what I see come across my desk a lot, that basically ends up getting people back in jail, is that felony gun, those probation violations. And it's usually because they got a gun on them. And so I think that those three things, the whole, I think you mentioned one of them, but that bail piece, and then that whole gun, she was really tough when it came to guns. And so, which I did love the part about as it relates to the assault weapons, like that was an automatic felony, which you got an assault weapon, I definitely appreciate her being, tough on that. And not to say that being tough on the other things is wrong either. It's just that a lot of times I do see that come across my desk, and sometimes it's not the person's gun, it's the friend gun, it's somebody that's in the car. And if they just in the car and you a felon, that's it. And so it's like, it's kind of, so I can kind of see those scenarios playing out, and family members, going to court and being disgusted by, their loved one going right back in, because they had a gun on them. And a lot of times it's in an area that's high crime, you know what I'm saying, where they feel like they have to protect themselves. They don't have the gun on them to kill nobody, but it's because, because there's so much going on in the area. And you mentioned before, when it came to the murder, per capita, or whatever, the what you read off or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like a catch-22. You know, you got a gun to protect yourself, but then you're not supposed to have one because you a felon. But because you're in that lifestyle, that's just something that naturally, you know, is in your psyche, you know. And so it's kind of like, instead of getting to the root of the problem, like how did they actually get the gun, it's kind of like, you know. So I mean, I'm going into a bunch, but just doing the type of work that I do, I see, you know, the family members, you know, coming in and, you know, being in court, and, you know, and it being something, you know, like that, to where they, you know, they had it for protection, or they were in the car and it was, you know, a friend's gun, and they going to jail for it because they're not supposed to be around them. And so I believe just with that, and then that whole bail piece and those types of things is probably why, you know, people, especially in that area, that may remember when she was a DA, you know, but like, wait a minute now, you know. So yeah. But yeah.
Sweet, repeat your question. Repeat the question.
No, yeah, sure. I basically was saying, in reference to a lot of the controversy around her, some of the things that Holly just stated, her conviction rate, the gun concern, the bail rate. What do you like? What are you guys? What is your take on that? That's kind of like what some of the population has concerns about that. But how do you feel about that? Do you like?
Okay.
I'm not sure if I answered that.
Oh, I kind of came from my, you know, the perspective of what I see on a daily basis.
She's a paralegal.
Personally,
yeah.
But go ahead, April. I'm
sorry. It's all right. No, I needed that information from you, Holly. That helped give me perspective. But yeah, for me personally, one of the things that you said, Sweet, was you know, about holding someone to their past. But see, when people are running for political office, I feel like we definitely should hold them to their past, but not just the bad, the good, right? Because that, I don't know you from Who Shot John. All I know is you from your record,
right?
And what you've done. And when you're seeking a political office, all that we have are those things to measure the type of person that we think you are, to trying to get an idea of what your worldview is. And for me, Kamala seems like a law and order type person. And what I mean by that is, you know, there's two different types of people. There's a person that says, well, but the law. And then there are people who says, yes, I understand the law, but we have I've got power to give grace, or I have power to fix, you know, certain things that are fair and just. And so you know, just looking at her, Kamala, to me seems like more of a law and order by the book. And that, you know, because what I would love to hear, and I mean, this could be Kamala, this could be anybody, whoever has this stance. What I would love to see is someone coming in from her background that actually tried to see the unjust measures of the law and actually work toward getting things tweaked and changed. You know, while she also did her job, because I understand as a DA, that's their job to get the conviction, right? Right, Holly.
Now, just to interject, now she did do a lot to try to, like, her reentry program. That they used to model in other states, like it was so good. So and reentry is basically trying to set people up. And so it was for first time offenders though. But you know, she had them do community service. They had to get their GED. They had to have employment, take parenting classes, do drug tests. And once they graduated from the program, they their record was expunged, but they had to plead guilty first. So if they didn't make it through all that, then unfortunately you got to record. But I guess that was the incentive to finish. was, okay, once you're done, your record is gonna get expunged. And she also did some work where she sued some ink companies because they were pouring toxic ink into I think it was like the Bayview neighborhood. I'm not sure if that's
Yeah,
a
it was a
black neighborhood or not. I'm
yeah.
not sure if it is, but
Yeah.
it could possibly
But
be, because
either way,
Yeah,
that's
whatever
bad.
neighborhood
Yeah.
it was,
yeah.
it was wrong.
Don't pour
Right.
ink in
And
Right.
water.
so she prosecuted them. She sued a whole bunch of folk for doing, wrong.
Wrong
It was
things.
another, I think it
Yeah,
was like a city manager who was doing some
yeah.
doing that, she ended
Okay.
up bringing him down. Like, she did do a
And
lot of stuff.
major corporations too.
Yes, major corporations.
And when we say, JP Morgan Chase with the whole
Yeah. Oh yeah, with the mortgage.
the
Yeah.
mortgage lending
Mm-hmm.
situation. So, it's what you're saying, April. You do have to take, I know I said we can't um, hold people to their past, but what I'm saying is, when we're holding people to, I think sometimes we have a tendency to just hold people to the bad. And it's what you're
Right.
saying. We have to bring the balance. Like, we need to
Yeah.
acknowledge that this is something that you did, while we also acknowledge that this is something else that you did. But
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
And if Kamala can bring that and translate it to a uh national, is that the right word? National
Yeah.
office,
Mhm.
then that would be wonderful. Although she is a running mate and really she is supporting the vision of Joe Biden.
Mhm.
But you know, if she is afforded to do her own thing and push some things, hopefully she'll go more into reforms and making the system more fair, since she has the experience she has. Because
Right.
really, one thing I can say, if anybody can make a positive change, because what I've been wanting to hear from the Democratic Party is for them to right the wrongs of the crimes bill. I just want them to hit that head
Come
on. Y'all did
on.
it. You know you
You
did it.
did.
Fix it, right?
Mhm.
Fix
So
it.
fix
Fix it,
it. So
Jesus.
if she can come out and be like, you know what, I got something that we can do to fix it, then
Yeah.
then hey, you go girl. You go girl. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely good. But you got to remember that that whole tough on crime and drugs thing, started in the Republican Party as well. So it's like, and then in order to kind of keep that, in order to get elected, the president, I think it was Clinton, that
Yeah, it was Clinton.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he
Yeah.
he had to stay tough on crime in order to
Right.
get elected. And so then here comes, all the crime, which that really,
Like, did
locked a
he?
lot
Like, no,
of
I don't know.
folks
I
up.
don't know.
Yeah.
Look, I thought
Yeah.
all you had to do was play his saxophone.
Ah,
Oh,
honey,
the
that locked a
shade.
whole bunch
I
of
A
us
wasn't
up.
trying
lot.
to shade, but
I
I'm just
know.
like,
Yeah.
did you really have to do it? Did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So,
Nevertheless, that's the past. But
I
what
think
I'm
that's
yeah.
a good
saying,
point, though,
that, yeah,
April.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I think that's a good point that you're making up, that you not making up, but that you brought up about the crimes bill, because who better to really push that
Come
reform
on.
than herself? I mean, she has an extensive career as an attorney addressing crime of
Mhm.
all multitudes, of all
Yeah.
facets. Um, like Holly already stated, she's put reform in place that's been adopted, nationally in other states. So the capacity for change is definitely there. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of if it is on the forefront of, the party.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Because
and and
Yeah,
honey,
that's a
I
whole
I
nother.
know it is. Because the thing is, I mean, is it a ploy just to get
Right.
our vote,
Just to
or
get
are
our
you really
vote.
gonna let the sister do something? See,
Right,
and I
just to
think
get our
that's
vote. You're
yeah.
right.
and
Just to get our vote and do what y'all have always done, because that's one thing I
Yeah.
honestly, I'm coming at this from unbiased but biased. I have my views, and I feel like it doesn't matter who they put in someone that'll get everybody excited to get the votes, but yet I feel like each party has their own set agenda, and it don't matter what the people really want.
Absolutely.
They're like, we're here to push this, and this. We just need to get them to vote us in so we can continue doing what we think is right.
Yep, that's so
Absolutely.
true. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So,
And I think that's kind of, I've heard that, just social media and seeing things and Twitter and Facebook and all these other avenues and, talk radio. And I'm hearing that what you just stated, is this just a ploy to even further secure the vote of the African American and the African American woman, because there's this identification of she's one of us, she's one of me. So I'm not saying that it is. We're not saying that it is.
Yeah.
That's just the question.
It's just easy.
Is it?
What
Is
it
it?
is, you know.
Is it? Is it? Is it?
Is you
Is it not?
Is it?
Is you?
My baby.
Look, ask the question. Just ask the question. We'd like
Just
to
ask
know.
the question.
Oh God!
Just ask
But
the
one thing
question.
I can say about her is, if they allow her to, she will get some stuff done. This Joker, I was just by reading her accomplishments, I was tired. I said, I can't read no more. We gonna summarize this. Oh my God, like I was just like, geez. So if this task force, that task force, every time she saw a problem, here come a task force, here comes a unit, here comes something to hit the problem, head on or whatever. So I do admire that level of work ethic and ambition and drive, like, because she plays no games. I mean, from what I have seen, from what I've read.
And this is, from myself included, this is out the gate. This is from her district attorney days. It's been tackling things. So, and I was reading over her career, and I had spoken with April about this before we started our podcast. I was just saying how it's so extensive. And I know I've said that before. But it's almost like, I don't know what her ideal was when she went to law school. I don't know if the goal was always 20, 30 years down the road, I'm going to go into politics. But this career definitely speaks to someone who was very focused and intentional about whatever they wanted to do. Yeah. And so, is what April said, is what I'm sure many are hoping for. If this energy is invested in a positive way, I do think change could take place. And if that energy is directed to the right area, I feel like the change could take place. So in sense of the whole significance, the first African-American or Black woman, that's kind of controversial for some people, a South Asian American woman. How do you guys feel? Do you feel like it's just as significant as when Obama became the first Black president? Or is it one of those situations where we've kind of become a little bit nullified? Or does it still carry that same weight? I remember being in my apartment watching, I remember just the campaigning and everything that went into placing this Black man into office, and that feeling of calling my girlfriends like, can you believe this? Girl, we're watching history take place. I don't know if I'm sensing that same air. This is just me, and I could be wrong, but I don't know if I'm sensing that same energy and that same excitement level around Kamala's nomination. And that could be a lot due to past. But for you guys, are you, and let me put the disclaimer in there, you know, COVID has a shroud over everything right now. And so, you know, school and COVID and all of the nuances of what we're experiencing for 2020. So I don't know if some of that is being overclouded by that, but do you guys sense the same energy? Are you excited even individually? And this isn't about just, this has nothing to do necessarily with party, because I know we all have different viewpoints about that, but just like, hey, there's a Black woman on the Democratic ticket. How are you guys feeling about that?
Well, I myself, I myself am not really as, and Lord, I hope people don't take this wrong, but I'm not as excited as I was with Obama. And I think the reason being, okay, didn't know during the primary, it was President Obama and Hillary Clinton, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, when I heard President Obama speak for the first time and I just saw him, I said, you know, Hillary didn't stand a chance. I actually previously wasn't even, I was non-affiliated with either party. You know, I just voted independently. But I became a registered Democrat just so I could vote in the primary to make sure that President Barack Obama was the person that was going for the Democratic Party. And it didn't matter unless he just said something totally egregious. It didn't matter what he said. He had my vote, right? But let's just be honest. A lot of us was just like, he is Black. I
He's
don't
Black.
know anything else. What else do I
He
talking to me
Black.
about? What, I mean, I hear you, but I don't hear you. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
But
He Black.
but this go round, I think it's wonderful. I think it is significant, her being a Black female, but you're gonna have to do more than be Black. I've already done, you know,
It's the
you
truth.
got to be standing on what I believe this country needs, that the future that I want for my children. I don't care what color you are, because we all well know, just because you look like me don't mean you for me. So
True.
I think that I just think it's not the same right now, and COVID might have something to do with it. We off that, I don't know, but but for me personally, it's going to take way more than it took for President Obama, for me to just get on the Biden Harris ticket just because she's there. So
Yeah, and I mean, I do think COVID has something to do with it. Like I said, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, folks,
well, I was like, really?
You in the COVID
I was about to like, when did I'll listen when October come around.
Child, because I was at, you know, work and talking to someone there, and she was saying some stuff that I was like, huh? I didn't know that happened. Now what? I just really have not been following the campaigns. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know. And to be honest, I'm just like, Lord, how do you want me to vote? And I think that's the stance that everybody should take, you know, regardless of the color of whoever's skin or whatever. But that be very intentional, because it is so important, you know. Lord Jesus, I don't even know what to say, but
Wow.
this vote is very important, because I feel like, I don't know, it's some stuff that's coming, and Lord Jesus, I don't know. I just, prayers are necessary. That's all I got to say.
Pray, church.
But I'm just trying to really be prayerful and just make sure that I vote according to what God wants me to vote, and not because I'm Black, not because I'm expected to vote a certain way, because blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And you know what I'm saying? And just really taking everything into consideration as I vote, and just making sure that every bias, every whatever is cleared out of my mind, and that I'm truly in tune with God and what He wants to do in the next season of our country, you know, and just really focusing in on that. I don't know if I'm making sense or whatever.
Yeah,
But to
Yeah,
making
be
that
an
makes
honest,
total
informed
great
decision.
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm just like, Lord, I just don't know what to do. And I need your help in deciding, what is next for this country, what you want to put in place and put forth. And so that's all I got to say.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
tired.
that's a lot. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, myself included, um, I've deemed April our resident political guru,
Yeah.
and I really see politics in her future. She fights
Oh
it.
my God.
She fights it hard, but
It's
let me
over.
tell y'all, this girl is a politician at heart. Um, and she has my vote. And I mean, I'm saying this jokingly, but I do. If there were out of the three of us, if any of us are going to be a politician, it's going to be April,
Mhm.
because she's very well informed. She definitely keeps me informed about a lot of things that sometimes goes without my own understanding or knowledge. And I'm always like, how do you know this? Like, who is your source? Like, where do you get this information from? Like, how do I not know this stuff that you spat off to me, like it's like just this rhetoric that seems to come secondhand nature? But I will say, for myself, politics is not a strong point for me. And so it's something that I feel like I need to definitely hone in and just do a lot more research. And I say that, and then sometimes I don't. But there is such a conviction this year that I have as it pertains to I think I have a conviction every year just to vote in a positive way.
Mhm.
But I think even more this year is making me want to be very informed. I'm kind of like you,
Yes.
Holly, where I'm kind of still in the middle of the road. But when I was just reading over Kamala's career, and then I'm thinking I need to do like an extensive research before November, because I kind of been, I'm not gonna lie, I've been in my own personal fog. Like, we
Honey.
got COVID going on, work, jobs, family, people dying,
Honey.
processing emotions. It's been so second nature that, dang, this, I keep having these little trigger moments like, oh yeah, this is a what do you
Election
call
year.
it, an
Election
election
year.
Election
year.
year.
It
Yeah.
keeps slipping my mind that this is an election year,
Mhm.
because there's so much focal point on health and wellness and things of that nature. And so I'm like, okay, it's September, or soon to be September. I need to make sure that, one, that I've made a move. So I need to make sure that I'm registered in the county that I now live in, and making sure that there are no delays and
Yes.
no funny business. But just also making sure that what Holly said is true, that I'm voting about the things that are important to me, regardless of
Mhm.
what race, gender, whoever can accomplish those things. How is this going to look for my nieces? How is this going to look for my nephews?
Yeah.
How is this going to look for the elderly? How is this going to look
Mhm.
for the immigrant? Like, how is this going to look for me?
Right.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Come
What is this
on.
going to look like for me? So I think we have to come out of our emotions. And as we stated at the beginning of the podcast, this is a very emotional time.
It
I,
is.
you know, Outside of all the things that are taking place just with the virus that's still running rampant in our country, we're all experiencing first first
Mhm.
time of kids being at home for a school year, first time people working from home. Everybody's assimilating to something new. And I think in the midst of that, with all of our judgment has been kind of, I don't want to say our judgment has been put to the back burner as it pertains to the election year, but there seemingly are so many more things to focus or draw our attention. And I just know that as we get closer to election, and I ain't even mentioned race yet,
Child.
I'm praying for peace and for discernment, because
Mhm.
Yes.
in about a month or two, all hell was gonna break loose on social media, and
Wow.
it's it's. I'm not even trying to speak it. I'm just telling what I'm
I
just
know
stating facts.
you are.
Because it's always
Mhm.
it's
It
always
is
it's always a sensitive
something.
place in election year, and now
Mhm.
you're adding the sensitivity of it being an election year and all of what has taken place racially this
Yes,
year.
honey, it's crazy.
So
We at a
I'm like, all
tipping
those who
point.
know the words of prayer, let's just
Pray.
pray for peace.
I might have to delete my Facebook page for the month of
Right.
Child,
October and
October
November.
it's
and
gonna be
November
crazy.
and probably
Maybe
December.
December. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just start over in January.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because every year I see the same thing.
It is.
I
And then there's that air, like if you vote a certain way, then you're less Christian.
right.
Like it's like
Or if you vote a certain way, you less black.
You less black.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Everything is being questioned.
It
Your
is.
ethnicity is being questioned. Your allegiance to the cause, your allegiance to the people, your allegiance to God. Do you really love him? How can you if you
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot. And so,
Can I
my
God
oh,
can
go
go
ahead.
use
ahead?
wicked kings just like he can use righteous ones.
Come on, no
Come
Bible.
on.
But I was gonna put a pin. I wanted to put a pin in that right there, sweet, because I want to just make this public service announcement. Do not allow this election to have marriages be broken,
Come on.
best friends
It's
stop being
true.
friends,
Yeah.
because them people that's gonna get in office, I don't care who it is, after they do their stint, do they 4 to 8
Mm-hmm.
years, they going skiing afterwards. They gonna do their book deals. They gonna
Yep.
get their check for life, and you gonna be without your spouse, without your family
Yep.
members, and without your best good friend that you had,
Good
the good
friend.
one, the
Mm-hmm.
good one that you could borrow money from and everything, just because they voted a certain
Yep.
way. Y'all
Yes.
crazy. Don't
Crazy.
don't get into the hype. There
Yeah.
is something deeper and
Mm-hmm.
something higher
It is.
than political systems that are made by man.
It's so
And I'm gonna
true.
just leave that right there.
I mean,
Um,
that was a lot to drop. Yes.
yeah.
Drops mic and exit stage left.
Drop that signs. Drop that signs.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's so true. And
Mhm.
this podcast is based and laced in biblical truth. That's part of
Mhm.
our motto. That's part of our vision that we wanna reconcile. So when we talk about reconciliation, we recognize that we're not always gonna agree. And
Yeah.
that's okay. We're totally okay with not agreeing.
Mhm.
But we also want to still lace everything that we do in truth.
Yeah.
And the truth is, first your allegiance is to our first allegiance is to our Savior,
Yes.
Yes.
not to any political party.
Please
I
don't
could
let your politics become an idol, honey. It
Come on. Stop the
and
idol worship.
that has been revealed on another level
Yeah,
on this year. That's all I'm gonna say. But
it, yeah, it's true. It's
yeah.
so true.
Mhm.
It's so true. And so, that's something else that we wanted to kind of talk about as well, as it pertains to the politics. And I'm sure as it gets closer to the time, we may have another side conversation about that. But that pen that you just dropped is a very significant pen.
Yeah.
And, you need to prick yourself with that pen and see that you still bleed red like everybody
Mhm.
else,
Yeah.
whether they're Democratic or Republic. None of us bleed blue. We all bleed red.
Yeah.
Come
It's,
on.
and so I think, and I'm not saying red to attribute to any particular party. I'm saying
Yeah.
We're
red
all
blood.
human.
Blood.
We're
Yeah.
Yeah.
all human. And so it's so true. Over the past couple of weeks, as people have been talking and discussing, I remember hearing someone say, I don't know if it was like on a commentary or just in conversation in passing, and they were talking about Kamala saying that Joe Biden was racist. Now, here's the thing: it's what April said.
Mhm.
She may have said it. I don't know. I'm not. I haven't fact checked that, so don't quote me. This is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is
No,
this is
no,
here's
no. If she
this is
said it, I know why. But go ahead.
yeah. this is, oh my, this
Oh
is
Lord,
hearsay.
geez.
But, you know, you can call somebody a racist and still be on a ticket to support an agenda.
Right.
Look,
Lord have
it's
mercy.
bigger.
Yeah.
It's bigger than
Yes,
us.
it's
It's
bigger.
so much bigger. And it's what you said is so true. At the end of the day, we can have these votes and, you know, we can, I still believe in going to the poll. I still believe in making your voice known. Our ancestors died for this right. Your ancestors died for this right. But I think we also have to be a realist in some of the, in understanding that at the end of the day, they still gonna do what they want to do.
You got that right,
Yeah.
honey.
And so,
And they got a whole Congress and a whole, you know, is they get through to even pass certain things. So it's like, you know, you know, it's their
Right.
agendas as well are kind of mixed in there together.
right,
That's
right.
right.
So yeah, it's crazy, and we just out here, you know, being pawns in a bigger plan that, you know, the powers that be have for, you know, for
Right.
society and what they want to see, you know,
That's
come
right.
about, you know.
That's right.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
that's why it is so important that and I'm going to say this because we know that everyone who listens to us, although we ascribe to a Christian faith, that may not be the viewpoints of all, and we're totally cool with that, to each his own. But I would say research your candidates. Um,
Yes.
for those who, you know, who are people of faith, pray about what's important and how you should vote. You know, faith and work. Do the research,
Yes.
work and do the research. Find out the information. See what the policies are. See what's important to you. Where do your convictions lie? But then also pray about how the Lord wants to lead you. And for those who may not be people of faith, do the research. There's so many avenues out there. There's fake news and there's authentic news.
That's right.
Decipher through it all and find truth in what you're researching so that you can make informed decisions about the things that matter to you. And so I think it generally, that's what we wanted to say. Even, you know, in bringing up Kamala, and, you know, I do feel like this is very significant that this is the first time that this has happened in history, that we have a Black woman to be on a major party ticket. So I don't think that we should minimize that significance. And I think in the midst of everything that's going on, her policies, her convictions, all of those things, I think we kind of, sometimes we overlook the moment. And so in you know, nobody's giving her passes off of her past, but can we just stop for a minute and acknowledge this is a moment?
Yeah, because she's blazing a trail. I mean, so at the end of the day, regardless of what happens, you know what I'm saying, that is blazing the trail for, you know, somebody who looks like her coming after her, or
Get out
who, you know, anyone else who, any other nationalities that may come, you know, up. So it is very significant. You know, I know, I know, you know, earlier I sounded nonchalant, and it wasn't my intention. It was just because of COVID and everything that's happened. It has kind of overshadowed everything, and I have taken kind of a approach because of everything. Like, just seeing so much going on, it's kind of rattled me in a sense. And so, you know, the whole election is kind of taken but that does not, you know, take away from the fact that I believe that this is a monumental moment. I do believe that she is blazing a trail, and just like as she's done in the past. You know, she was the first, I think she was the first African American
Attorney General.
Oh, Attorney General. That's what it was.
I think she was.
Yeah. So once again, she's blazing a trail for us. So it's very significant. And, you know, I love to see, you know, more minorities taking, you know, taking that role, you know, going after positions that are in politics, going after those higher positions and getting in office. Basically, let's let our government look how our nation looks. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it right now we got a little bit more work to do, but to get it more diverse. So I love seeing, more people coming forward, and the fact that she's doing that is going to blaze the trail for the next generation. So
absolutely.
And I would like our Congress to start looking more like our nation too.
Absolutely.
Because one thing I noticed, they're starting to we had the passing of a very well-known African American congressman, but I'm hoping, and they're starting to blaze the trail with women, with people of color, but I want to see more Black men in Congress, the younger ones, because that's a demographic that is missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just not for nothing. Ain't got nothing to do with Kamala, but since we're talking about politics and we're talking about that, I appreciate what Holly said, that our government is not just the president. Right. So our government needs to represent us, and because Black males a lot of times get the butt booty in of a lot of the harsh laws that happen in this country. They Black
can't even
males,
vote half the time.
Right.
That felony is
right. Get them with that felony, and then they treat them like a non-entity, so we don't have to cater to you. Black men and Hispanic men, I believe. So just mention that.
Okay. So I know I didn't initially ask you for last thoughts, but outside of what you guys just stated, is there anything else that you would want to add or leave for the listeners before we kind of wrap up?
I would say, for those who are believers, pray. and do your research. And for those who don't believe, do your research, because it's a very important decision. And just make sure that, the people that you put in office represent, what you want to see. And that's not just on a national level, but on a local level, voting your local elections. That's actually the most important, to be quite honest. For that, we need more people voting in, because that directly affects you, so just all the way around, just getting more educated, and being a part of the process. I think for those who feel that calling, because not everybody is, because politics can be something, but for those who do, get involved, even if it's on a grassroots level, or if you feel a call to run for office, honey, you just never know. Honey, our president, come on now. Bless his heart. He had not nary experience, but
right.
And I ain't saying it's got to be on the presidential level, but you know what I'm saying.
That's a very valid point.
If you feel the unction, go for it. Do your research, to see what it takes to get there. Shadow somebody.
Come on.
See how they did it or got there, whatever that whole process is about. Get engulfed in it and go for it, because we need more people, that more minorities, running for offices. It is so neat, because that's really how we're going to change things and change the laws, because if we ain't the ones making the laws, how are we going to change anything? So, so that would be my final thoughts.
Very good. April.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback off that. I think with Kamala, she is it's a notable fact that she is a trailblazer. That even seeing her existence on such a high level will give those who thought it would never be the hope that I can. We live in a country with all of our problems and all of our issues. I love my country, because this is truly when you tell the little kid, baby, you can be president if you want to.
You can be president.
You could be the president. That's the truth. It's true. You can come from whatever and get to a place where you can run for political office and be a public servant in this country. And so, so reiterate that. This might be a word for somebody. Run. Remember Jesse Jackson's campaign, run, Jesse, run.
Run, Jesse, run.
Yeah. for that. So I'll just dutifully note that, and definitely be prayerful, educate yourself to the process, and then do not destroy the relationships you have and the people you love over politics. It will come and go. Systems come and go. But you better hold fast to the things that are hard to come by, which is family and good friends and community that we gravely need in times like these. So that's it. Y'all pray and delete your Facebook pages if you can't handle it. If you can't handle it, just stay off that Facebook.
Facebook and Twitter, honey, because Twitter is a whole nother
Twitter
breed
is
of
a
people.
whole nother. That's a group of people. That's the underbelly of society. that whole Twitter, that Twitterverse, boy. Them the people in the basements that all they got to do, all they have is
people
time.
under the stairs.
They got time. They got time today.
They're the people under the stairs, like Twitter fingers.
Oh my goodness, honey, they got them. Well, this is going to be the conclusion of this episode. We hope that you guys found out some interesting facts about Vice President nominee Kamala Harris. We hope that you're going to take everything that we said and do your research and pray and be informed and maintain your relationships with your friends. And, as we soon approach the election period and time, we just admonish you guys to be safe, to be informed. And there's not necessarily a truth to reveal in this moment, but we just want you guys to be reconciled, regardless of where you stand on the aisle, Republic, Democratic, Independent, Black, white, man, woman. We want you guys to be reconciled, because at the heart of God, that is his goal. He came to reconcile us. And so truth, everybody sometimes people have their own version of that. But reconciliation is reconciliation. So hopefully you guys were informed through this conversation. Again, we would like to reiterate that we are not in support or of any particular candidate, and we're not endorsing any particular candidate on this here Truth Revealed podcast. Right. But we did want to obviously have this discussion and have this conversation because it's something that's taking place currently within our society and in our world. And so please stay tuned, subscribe, like us on Facebook, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel and share. Do it. Share. If you like the comedy, if you like the fun and the laughs, if you like the content, don't keep us to yourself.
Come on.
Share.
Share the world.
Share. Sharing is caring.
Yes.
So until next time, thank you guys so much for joining the Truth Revealed podcast, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you guys.
Bye. Bye.